guys, so this isn't going to be like the best quality sit down video that I've done. It's like pretty late. I wasn't actually going to film this today, but then I kind of like changed my mind last minute, so it's kind of dark. Well, it's not too dark outside, but there's not a lot of light. It's like snowing and stuff, so there's no sun to kind of come in through my window, and I've had to put my lights on, which makes it really yellow. My makeup's all faded, and yeah. But oh well, we can look past that, I'm sure. I wanted to film like another sit down recovery help video because I feel like, you know, I want to start doing more of those kind of stuff to help with actual recovery. So yeah, and then you guys said, a lot of you said that you wanted to see like a kind of how to really like pursue recovery, I guess, or how to like when you've like, you know, kind of, I guess there comes a time in recovery where you can get like really stuck, and that's when relapses can happen and stuff. And lots of you asked, how did I like recover fully? What's the difference between, you know, like recovering half-heartedly and proper recovery? So I thought I would just like talk about that and give you some advice and stuff, and hopefully this will help a lot of you, because this for me is like probably the most important like thing you need to know during recovery, because it goes for everyone, because I feel like no one's recovery is like straight up, and I definitely had moments, maybe not in my proper recovery, but before that, when I was borderline anorexic for like 2-3 years, I was constantly trying to recover, but I never actually did. And I think the main thing I want to say is that you've really got to want it, because while I do feel like it can be successful when you're kind of forced to by doctors and stuff, you've got to want it, you know. Like, part of you has got to want to recover, and I'm sure that most of you will probably want to be recovering, because I mean, lots of people ask me how I started to recover, and honestly I'd just gotten sick of like, you know, like not living a normal life and stuff, and watching everyone else eat normally, and I was like, oh, why can't I do that? I knew there was no reason that I couldn't do that, so that's how kind of I started recovering, I guess. And it was as I went to see the doctors, and I met up with the hospital appointment team. That was like, you know, kind of the last push I needed. You've got to want it yourself to some extent. Like, maybe not 100% of you is going to want to recover, and I feel like if you have an eating disorder, it's never going to be 100% of you, and there's never really a wrong time to start recovering. I've kind of like realised that as I started recovery, and I realised that it is easier, I feel like, than people make it out to be, because once you get past a certain stage, maybe if it was kind of like, you know, 6 months for me, once I got past that stage, maybe even less than that, like a few months, you realise that it's not as impossible as not people make it out to be, but, you know, as you think. And another thing I want to cover is that lots of people say, how long until I'm going to get comfortable? Like, you can't look at it long term. Like, don't set long-term goals for yourself is another thing that I want to like cover, because then it will seem very impossible. And while a week might not be a long time, if you kind of set a goal for a week's time, that week is going to go by really slowly, and that's kind of why you don't want to make long-term goals for yourself. Unless you think that is going to help you, then you can do that, but I feel like recovery is so like hit and miss, like when it comes to goals and stuff, like you don't know when you're going to have a bad day. So you can't set a goal for yourself, because then you know, you might beat yourself up even more if you don't reach that goal. And the first day of recovery can be fun, and it can be as fun as, you know, like a day 6 months down the road. Like, you don't have to get to a certain point in recovery to start enjoying recovery. You can enjoy eating foods from the very first day, and yes, granted, that might not be like, you know, all of the food you want to be eating, because you've got to kind of gain that confidence, which you probably won't have on the first day of recovery. But I remember I ate like a bread roll or something, but it was the fact that I ate it guilt-free. That for me was like a big deal, and that made it really exciting. So yeah, don't set long-term goals for yourself, and take it day by day, and go really easy on yourself, because it's like, you know, it's a tough thing that you're doing, and there's no point putting pressure on yourself. There's no point comparing yourself to other people. That's a big main one as well. I feel like that wasn't so much of a bad thing for me, because I was just kind of focusing on my own recovery, whereas I do know that a lot of people compare it to other people's recovery. And for example, if you're watching this, I don't want you to compare it to my recovery, because every single person is different, and anorexia isn't this kind of thing that you either have or you don't. You might have some symptoms, and you might be ill to an extent, whereas I might be ill on a different level to you. Or for example, you might not have lost any physical weight, but you might be more mentally ill than me, or someone could lose loads of weight and you might be really, really ill and in hospital, and then you might have to eat a little bit more and you might find it more challenging than someone who can just focus on maintaining rather than gaining weight. You never can tell by looking at someone and seeing their weight just how mentally ill they are. But then what I was saying about the taking it day by day, don't beat yourself up in the sense that, like, if you can't have a chocolate cake today, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to have that chocolate cake in the future. You can kind of, I guess, not compare yourself, but, you know, kind of imagine yourself in someone else's shoes who might be a little bit more further down the road in recovery than you are, and maybe that's a place where you want to be. So you can set that goal for yourself as an overall goal, but don't put a date to it, I think is what I mean with the, like, whole not setting yourself goals thing. And also reaching out to people, I feel like that's a really helpful one. Lots and lots of people reach out to me, like, I mean, that's the reason I'm making this video, because so many of you have, like, reached out to me on my Instagram and asked me, you know, like, how I did it, how I started it, like, and most of all, like, how I don't relapse now. While you might not find it helpful because it might, I don't know, it might make you focus more on the social media part of it rather than yourself. If you are that kind of person, maybe don't look at too much, like, Instagram and stuff. But I feel like for a lot of people it can help. And it definitely helped for me, because I could see that these people, they had been in a place previously where I was now. This was when I was ill, and seeing how they had gotten back to a normal life really helped me and made me realise that maybe, you know, I could do that. I don't know, I'm not really explaining anything in a specific order. I'm kind of just, this is like a jumble, but then most of my videos are. Also actually reaching out to these people in the way that, like, you know, you guys message me on Instagram. If there is one, like, specific person that inspires you, try and reach out to them and, like, you know, message them, and if you get a reply, then try to, like, ask what their story is. Maybe just hearing that would help you, and asking, you know, from what point did you start recovery, so kind of getting a better image of how ill they were without being too, like, invasive. Try and get, like, a clearer image of how ill they were so that you can relate to them more, if that makes sense. I do know that a lot of people have like, photos on their Instagram of before and afters, and while that can be, like, triggering sometimes, which is, like, a reason that I only really do a few, it is really, really helpful, because while physically lots of people might not have any physical symptoms, it proves that it's such a severe mental illness that it affects people physically, which is awful. But yeah, obviously that doesn't show how ill you are, like, at all, because it is a mental illness. Kind of seeing from what point they start to recover to kind of, like, relate to them more, I guess. Also just asking to see if they have any tips or what advice they can give you, and yeah, just asking for some general motivation, I guess. Also, the last kind of, like, main point I have is to remember why you recovered in the first place. Loads of people used to, like, tell me this, and I didn't really make use of that advice, like, because for me, I was just kind of taking it day by day, and if I did have a slip up, I would know that it would pass. Like, I was lucky enough to not have so many slip ups, you know, that they happened too early on. And if they did, it was, like, really, really early on, and I was aware that it was probably just because it was so early on in recovery, that's why I was having slip-ups. Just because, you know, I had to get a bit more into it to become more comfortable with my food and stuff. But yeah, when I had the slip-ups, I could just tell myself, you know, that it would pass, and I just did kind of take it day by day, because with recovery you can have a really good day, then a really shitty day, and then the best day of your life the next day. So, yeah, but I do think it's very helpful, and I'm still going to give the advice. Oh no, it's snowing again. Yeah, remember why you recovered in the first place, and I am going to make a video on, like, 10 main reasons to recover, or, like, you know, things to recover for, because there's so many things that you don't even think of. It's like, I didn't realise how much my eating disorder was affecting my life until I had gotten back to a normal life. Like, now looking back, it's crazy. Like, I was in a completely different place last year as I am now. Like, I'm just living a normal, like, 18-year-old's life now, whereas last year I was, like, living the life of, like, a 10-year-old, like, socially and physically. Like, it was crazy. Just try reminding yourself that you did recover for a reason. Even if you can't remember what that reason was, or even if you can't, like, gain motivation from those reasons anymore, just know that it will pass, and that, like, maybe this time tomorrow, you know, you'll be really thankful that you hadn't listened to your eating disorder. Whereas if you do listen to the negative thought, you might spiral downwards for weeks. If you just let that thought pass, it can pass within like a matter of hours. I mean, with me, it's literally like seconds. Like I said, I'm lucky that, I mean, definitely hardly ever anymore. But although I do still sometimes get like negative thoughts, but I'm aware that that's just like my monkey brain, my chimp brain, my like eating disorder brain speaking. But yeah, I was lucky that I only really had like 2 or 3 major blips in my recovery, and by major I mean like lasted like a few weeks, you know, but some of them I didn't even act upon. I didn't act negatively upon them, it didn't actually affect me physically. But obviously mentally, you know, it can be very draining, and it can be really like disheartening, especially if you think that you're doing really well in recovery and then suddenly you like have a blip. But like I said, it was like a little bit different for me in the beginning this time last year when I started to recover, because I you know, like I was like under medical care mentally and physically at that point, and I kind of like, you know, had been listening to my eating disorder for the past like 2-3 years, and I was really sick of it. But I feel like for a lot of people, you might be very unsure whether you want to recover or not. I would just say, like, sometimes, like I said, you can't think positively and your eating disorder is taking over you. Just like literally make yourself eat it. It could be the tiniest thing, but make yourself eat something, even if it's just like a celery stick or something. And then you can kind of realise, you know, it's like mind over matter. Then you can kind of realise that you don't like have to listen to your brain and your eating disorder, and that you can like overcome it. It doesn't matter whether it's like, you know, a chocolate bar or a celery stick at this point. If your eating disorder doesn't want you to eat anything, eating a celery stick is not listening to your eating disorder. So that's very empowering. And then maybe the next day try and eat something more and more. This is like on top of what you're like eating to maintain, if you can manage that. Or just like on top of whatever you're eating, or like I say, eat a little bit more than your eating disorder wants you to eat, because then you're constantly moving forwards, even if that is like less and less each day because your eating disorder is getting louder and louder. That will pass, especially if you keep fighting against your eating disorder. But yeah, I had grown really sick of it, and I think I kind of just like realised that recovery was possible, and that I mean, like, you know, if other people could recover, why couldn't I? And I think it's just realising that you actually can recover, and once you are like recovered, or once you're, you know, starting to recover and stuff, once you're in recovery, you won't look back, and you'll realise, I mean, I guess you will look back, you know, you might have like bad days and stuff, but that doesn't mean you will relapse, and it doesn't mean, like, I guess I mean like in the long run and overall you won't look back, in the sense that you won't ever regret recovery. Even if you have a bad day and you want to lose the weight again, that will pass. I think it's just knowing that it will pass, even if you're having a day where you want nothing more than to like lose all of the weight again. Like kind of knowing, because I think everyone secretly knows that you shouldn't be listening to your eating disorder, that what you're doing is wrong. You might not want to admit it, but like you shouldn't be starving yourself, you shouldn't be purging, you shouldn't be doing whatever you're doing. There's a reason that most people aren't doing what you're doing, it's because like you're ill, and I think once you realise that, you can start acting upon it. And even if you're having a bad day, you can kind of like make yourself eat, because you know it's the right thing and you know it's a sensible thing to do. So yeah, just realising that you know, recovery is possible. You can see other people doing it, so you know that you can do it. And when you have a bad day, kind of just really like pushing through. And I think because I'd gotten to the point where I really wanted to recover, which I'm sure is a stage that you're probably at, especially if you're watching this video. You just don't know that you're at that stage, because you might think, oh, but I'm having negative thoughts. Like, it doesn't matter, you know, you're never going to be 100% if you're listening. I mean, if your eating disorder is there, it's never going to let you believe that you're 100% ready for recovery. But that's where I said, like, earlier on in the video, that there is no like perfect time. Like, you've kind of just got to do it now. But yeah, knowing that recovery is possible, and following their like journeys of recovery, and seeing that they were once where you are now, and that now they're where you want to be. So yeah, I think that's everything that I wanted to say. The kind of reason that I asked you guys what you want to see is because I'm always stuck for ideas as well. Like I've always got vlogs, which are kind of just like, you know, fun for me and you guys. I guess it doesn't actually really help too much with recovery, although it does, I guess, because I am proving that, you know, I'm like living a normal life now, that I'm alright now. But yeah, I know what I ate today's help you as well. But I never really know what other ones to film in terms of recovery. I think I'm going to do one, actually I'm definitely going to do one about recovering from self-harm. So yeah, leave your suggestions below, and thank you for watching. Sorry about the audio and the camera quality, hopefully they should both be improving soon. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that it helped you, and I will see you in my next one.